You know, you're busy, you're a big film star now. I was wondering, well, you are.
And there was this feeling on the set that Steve was just on fire.
So I try to hold it together, but sometimes you can't.
Pound for pound, one of the funniest people on the planet.
So I'm watching this early Anchorman audition with Steve Carell, and a few things immediately caught my attention. Even without any background into who he is, you can tell just by the descriptive hand movements that he not only has a background in improv, but he's pretty damn good at it.
It's one of those delicious falafel hot dogs with cinnamon and bacon on top.
Then you notice a few familiar expressions and quite the absurd back and forth.
Well, I got it out of the food basket at the end of the lunch line.
That's a garbage can.
This audition is for the role of Brick Tamland,
I would like to extend to you an invitation to the pants party.
a weatherman with a childlike wonder and complete lack of social awareness.
Where did you get those clothes? At the toilet store?
He ends up nailing the delivery with both perfect timing and a laughter so intense that he changes colors. But it's the ending bit that stuck with me the most.
I got nothing.
This humble attitude is a bit hard to take seriously when, for the last few minutes, he's kept a room full of industry professionals consistently laughing. Perhaps this unwillingness to sing his own praises stems from a humble beginning.
I was right out of college. I was earning money to go to Chicago to be an actor, and I got a job as a mail carrier. The first day I delivered mail, they had to go out looking for me because it was like 9 at night and I wasn't back.
While juggling a 9-to-5, he'd internalized the habits of a few notable comedic heroes.
Peter Sellers, John Cleese, Firesign Theater, George Carlin, Steve Martin. I think inadvertently I was studying it.
A few months after his short-lived career as a mailman, he'd moved to Chicago to join the Second City.
You were having a heart attack, so my training as a paramedic made me act instinctively.
You're a paramedic paralegal.
That's correct, sir.
It was here he'd honed his improv skills, working alongside future collaborator Stephen Colbert.
We started off at Second City together.
Yeah, I was his understudy actually, and he did a great job.
While there was certainly an abundance of talent, the more notable roles were hard to come by. He wasn't exactly leading man material.
I'm not much of a jokester. I'm a much better audience.
After only a minor role in 1991's Curly Sue,
Because it was like 12, 13 years before I got another part in the movie, so I don't think there was any magic going on there.
Carell would find consistency within commercials, most notably FedEx.
How do you avoid getting sick when you read in a car?
Well, you don't read.
He'd follow this up with work on the Dana Carvey Show.
And go get some frozen yogurt!
Most importantly, and during what was arguably the best era of political satire, Carell would land a role as correspondent on Jon Stewart's The Daily Show.
Hi, I'm Steve Carell, host of TV's popular Ad Nauseum franchise.
You're an actor, you're an improviser, you're sort of a journalist, and you're also none of those things.
His segment was a standout success.
Welcome back to the show. If you're like me, when you think of advertising, you can't help but think of Steve Carell.
The direct result of his deadpan humor and satirical edge.
We get a lot of letters here at The Daily Show. Occasionally, they're even addressed to Ad Nauseum. This one reads, Dear Steve, where do you get off telling me what I should think of TV commercials? Now, there's more, but allow me to address this fan's first question.
But what made Carell most effective was his timing. This was never more apparent than his supporting role alongside the ever-timeless Jim Carrey in Bruce Almighty.
You just gotta remember that the newsroom is like a big cookie.
Having to perform alongside arguably the most famous comedic actor of all time was quite the monumental task. Carell would end up passing with flying colors.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
He'd steal what is arguably the most famous scene within the entire film.
And I do the cha-cha like a sissy girl.
Due primarily, once again, to his impeccable timing. Carell's sharp instincts allow him to effortlessly understand the rhythm and flow of a scene. Not only is he able to cue which facial expressions are warranted with what lines, but can immediately pair it in harmony with the other actors. Carell is constantly in the moment. This is a talent that's not only difficult to replicate, but difficult to develop. It takes years, or in his case, decades.
I was fascinated by why just just a subtle difference in how they did it affected the telling of a joke or a story.
It's why most comedians or comedic actors got their start doing improv. What better way to sharpen your comedic talents than to throw yourself into the deep end with just a partner and a random topic? Once again, the result of these efforts would be on full display with 2004's Anchorman.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
At this point, Carell's resume was really quite something. He'd been co-starring alongside some of big screen comedy's heaviest hitters. He was fortunate enough to find follow-up work here and there, but there was just one problem. Carell was now a family man, and supporting roles couldn't provide the stability that a leading role could. Fortunately for him, he caught the attention of NBC.
They go, Michael, we have never worked in a place like this before. I mean, you are a riot.
With an audition that would showcase both his timing and ability to fully embrace cringe, he'd snagged the lead in a TV series that would become one of the most popular sitcoms of all time.
They call me Prison Mike.
Do you really expect us to believe you're somebody else?
Do you really expect me to not push you up against the wall, biatch?
But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The first season would arrive to mediocre ratings. The network was about to pull the plug. But as luck would have it, the saving grace would come in the form of a blockbuster comedy film Carell had boiling in the background.
It was a poker scene, and the guy and all of his friends are talking about sex, and they're trying to regale each other with these stories of sexual conquest. My guy didn't have any sort of context, no frame of reference, and obviously was trying to lie. So that became 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Any time of day, she was like, yeah, let's go.
Dude, are you gay?
No, I'm not gay. I've been with tons of women.
His previous performance in Anchorman had caught the attention of then producer Judd Apatow.
He just was so hilarious. It was making everybody else laugh so hard. People couldn't wait to get to the brick scenes to shoot those scenes.
He came to me and said, hey, would you like to, get together? Do you have any ideas to pitch?
At some point, I just said, hey, have you ever thought about making a movie where you're the lead?
With Carell collaborating on the screenplay and Apatow directing, they'd create a box office mega hit with the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Where you at? You, sir?
No, he don't need no help. He's already been served.
Wait, she's picking you up from here?
Nah.
That's up, man.
In anticipation of its release in theaters, NBC would extend The Office for another season.
I think we're spoiled because we don't appreciate the things that we have.
The direct result of Carell's potential in being Hollywood's newest leading man. Not surprisingly, his sharp delivery would propel the series to colossal ratings.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
And alongside Rainn Wilson's Dwight, he was also a fan favorite.
Depression? Isn't that just a fancy word for feeling bummed out?
Dwight, you ignorant slut!
Able to seamlessly transition from a manic stupidity.
You always left me satisfied and smiling, so...
That's what she said!
to a painfully genuine honesty.
10 years, you'll figure it out.
I don't think I'll be here in 10 years, but...
That's what I said.
With the success of the 40-Year-Old Virgin and now The Office, Carell was in incredibly high demand. This industry awareness would lead to a number of notable roles in films like Little Miss Sunshine, Dan in Real Life, Dinner for Schmucks, and Crazy Stupid Love, to name a few.
Keep it in the family, okay?
He'd even dip his toes in animation with the massively successful Despicable Me. But Carell wasn't just landing leads, his films were smashing box office expectations. As a result, he'd become arguably the most in-demand comedic actor of that entire era. But of course, with repeated success comes a label.
People know you as a comedian.
Yeah.
You probably want a serious dramatic role.
Carell began craving something more from his roles, but with a change in genre came more risk. Foxcatcher would be our introduction to this new direction.
It's the first time I've played a real-life figure.
I am giving them a dream, and I am giving America hope.
While there wasn't much of a box office draw for Carell's more dramatic lead, critics were much more receptive. Even better was acknowledgement from the Academy. Then came his inclusion within an ensemble cast full of Hollywood's heavy hitters.
And then that happens.
What is that?
That's America's housing market.
While The Big Short is considered a comedy, Carell's character, given the darker context of the film, was hardly ever joking.
So let me get this straight. The bank calls you up. They give you the bonds they want to sell. They give you clients. They give you money to run your business. Give you fat fees for doing so. But you represent the investors?
The film was a critical and commercial success, with Carell finding his performance as Mark Baum on the receiving end of unanimous praise. With these roles, and the ever-timeless presence of The Office on streaming networks,
Never, ever, ever give up.
he'd find the stability he was looking for. He had now proven he was more than just a comedic presence. He had the range to not only dabble, but excel in multiple genres.
Let me book your room at a hotel for a couple of nights.
Dad.
Can you say goodbye at
Bye,
least?
Dad.
While it all seemed to arrive at once, he certainly wasn't an overnight success. Decades of career instability had made him a force within comedy. Countless hours spent polishing his delivery and gathering experience. He'd shown that, with enough effort and just a little patience, the odds that feel so absurdly stacked against you,
Best boss I ever had.
might not be as insurmountable as you think.